Like, he just wanted her to pull a stripper pole out of her anus and start swinging from it. Like, he wanted her to gobble a chair and deep throat it. Like, it was just like crazy stuff. Like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? And it was just like, okay, now we gotta stop the game. Like, now we gotta stop the game because you're going a little bit crazy. Like, he had this complex where he thought he was an alpha male, but he wasn't. And then there was this other individual who just wasn't motivated. He really didn't have any aspirations. He really didn't have any true goals, or at that, big goals. He kind of just went afloat. He was very average. And then we had this other beta male. He was very sweet. You would almost confuse him with being an omega male, given, you know, research, if you research these type of things. But he was definitely a beta male, but he was one of those stragglers. So he was kind of like one of those dudes that you could little boy, like you could son him. Okay guys, so welcome to my channel. My name is Lamia, and today I'm going to be discussing beta males. Now, I'm not going to be discussing this topic in the traditional format that a lot of commentators would. I'm not here to tell you that you're a beta male, or you're an alpha male, and you're an omega male, and you're a zeta male, and you're a sigma male. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. Essentially, I'm doing this video because I'm hoping to receive commentary in the comment section below, given my experiences that I've had present tense and past tense with beta males. So hopefully you guys can assist me in my diagnostics, or, you know, whatever becomes of this video. And just know that I'm not trying to do this with any malice intent or extreme judgment. I just want to share my perspective and see if it resonates with other people, and just have meaningful, purposeful conversations. So hopefully you enjoy this video, and yeah, let's get started. So of course it's necessary for me to give you a little bit of background. So I guess I'll start off with something that happened in the present tense, current to date. I'll start off with what happened recently. So recently I posted something on Snapchat, and it got the attention of the beta males that I knew of from the past. Now, this is something minor, but it's major because the minor occurred because typically they do not interact with me. I haven't spoken to them since last I've spoken to them. I haven't seen them in the flesh since I've last seen them in the flesh. They don't watch my stories as frequently as, you know, one would watch another Snapchat story. Like, they just only come around when I post particular content. Now, I'm not posting, you know, raunchy, crazy content. Like, when I tell you it's minor, but it's major because the minor occurred. So, every now and again on Snapchat, I'll just post what I'm doing. Like, sometimes I'll post my CD collection. Sometimes I'll just be listening to music and I'll post that. Sometimes I'm thrifting and I'll post that. But I'm not really posting too much of my personal life. But at the same time, I get a little bit personable by sharing my commentary and my perspective. So essentially what I do on this platform, I kind of do on Snapchat. And I just share my perspective, my commentary, and so on and so forth. So I guess maybe they're not interested in that type of content from me on Snapchat. Look, content. But yeah, I just posted something more personal, and I guess they decided that that was more appealing to them. So I share this to say we don't have a really good relationship. Not because it's unhealthy or toxic. We just are not compatible, if that makes any sense. So again, I share this to say I just thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting because anytime we've ever interacted with one another, it's always been passive. I've never really had an assertive interaction with them. I've never even had an aggressive interaction with them as an individual, but collectively there have been aggressive moments. But overall, there's never really been a moment of assertion. And I'll share with you all in a couple of moments. Now, getting to something that happened past tense, I want to get you to understand. I'm sorry, y'all. I want you guys to understand how our group formulated. So essentially, I developed a personal relationship with this one girl that I knew of, and we became really good friends. From that relationship, we then created a direct friend group because she introduced me to her high school friend, and we became friends. And then with that friendship, we ended up finding another friend and creating a more direct friend group. So it was a duo, then it became a trio, then it became a quad. So now we have our direct friend group. Now, from this direct friend group, they ended up creating a general friend group, which was more of a cross-gender relationship of platonic intent. But of course, when you have men and women who are both heterosexual and they're both in, you know, a cross-gender relationship, there can be ulterior motives, there can be underlying interests and attractions. So of course that relationship went south very quickly, and I could definitely recognize the possible afflictions that could transpire with that type of friendship. So I never really befriended them. Like, me personally, I go off your vibe, I go off your frequency, I go off your energy. Like, I just go off of compatibility. The individuals that were in that group, we were not compatible, so I wasn't going to make myself more compatible with them by, you know, sacrificing my individual happiness. You know, but I definitely compromised for the sake of the direct friend group. I knew that they were friends with them, so if that's your friends, I'll be acquainted. I'll play nice. I'll be, you know, I'll be there. So that is the groups. I wanted to share this with you all so you can better understand the situations. Now, getting to the beta males, there were 3 different type of beta males. Although they were beta males, they definitely resembled certain qualities more than the other. So there is one beta male that kind of had this, he had this complex where he thought he was an alpha male, but he wasn't. And then there's this other individual who just wasn't motivated. He really didn't have any aspirations. He really didn't have any true goals, or at that, big goals. He kind of just went afloat. He was very average. And then we had this other beta male. He was very sweet. You would almost confuse him with being an omega male, given, you know, research, if you research these type of things. But he was definitely a beta male, but he was one of those stragglers. So he was kind of like one of those dudes that you could little boy, like you could son him. Not saying that I would or that I have. I'm just saying, like, that's just his personality type. So those are the 3 beta males. Now, there have been a plethora of experiences that I've had with them in the past that kind of was resurfacing given the recent event that occurred recently. So I'll share that with you all as well. And again, I'm just doing this because I really want more perspective, and I really want to kind of solidify my own perspective given the commentary that I received. Because essentially, I just feel like overall, the reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like a lot of times we like to act like beta males don't have a quote-unquote sauce. Like, they don't have a swag. They don't have an appeal. Like, they're just, you know, people or males or individual that you can just little boy and that you can son. But honestly, they can be just as aggressive, just as toxic as alpha males are often portrayed as. Because alpha males can develop a toxicity. They can be aggressive. They can be, you know, a bit unbalanced. But for the most part, I don't feel like they're as negligent or as terrible as they're often made to, you know, embody. You know, their appeal isn't as terrible as their, you know what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say, hopefully. So I really kind of want to focus a little bit more on the beta male with this alpha male complex, because he really shift, or rather alter, the dynamic of our general friend group. And inevitably, he was the reason why that general friend group ended. Luckily for me, I wasn't a part of that group. When everything transpired, I kind of like dipped away, dipped out of the direct friend group, dipped out of the personal friend group, and just kind of like went back to myself. But he made some stuff go down within that general friend group. So I kind of want to share it with you all, because it really has solidified my perspective on beta males and actually altered the way that I perceive beta males and alpha males, given my experience with this particular beta male amongst the other two that I experienced as well. So yeah, essentially what I've written, look, flown out, fly out. Look, that's how I was sounding when I said written or wrote. Anyways, so essentially what I have written about this individual is a Batman and Robin syndrome. I don't know if this is true or if it exists, but it's something that I've kind of thought of when I thought of this individual. The reason why I said he had a Batman and Robin syndrome or a Batman and Robin complex was because for a lot of beta males, of course, if you look at the hierarchy, they're beneath the alpha male. And since they're in such close proximity to an alpha male, it's not hard to conceive or even believe that an alpha or a beta male would believe themselves to be equivalent to an alpha male. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with this individual, just being in close proximity to that energy, or maybe to an individual within his life, or just the idea of being an alpha male and seeing that he had qualities that were similar to it but not exact. I think he just felt as though he was an alpha male, especially given the group that we were within. Like I said, you had the one that didn't really dream big, and then you had the one that could be son. He just assumed the role as the alpha male of that group, when in reality he wasn't. Because if he was to really meet an alpha male, he would, probably know that they don't equate. They're similar, they're synonymous, but they're not the same. So I say Batman and Robin syndrome because it's like he was the mind behind the bod, but he wasn't the bod. He's trying to be Batman and you're Robin. Yes, Robin does a lot of work. Yes, Robin is a lot of the brain power. Yes, Robin has almost more of an essential job than Batman does, because he's assisting Batman. He's picking up in the areas where Batman may be weak at, where Batman needs more strength. Robin is there. And maybe he feels like, since I supply so much strength to Batman, since I supply so much strength to the alpha as a beta, I can be an alpha. So I feel like that was his issue. Having that Batman and Robin complex, or that Batman and Robin syndrome, really made for our relationship to be a very unhealthy one, a very unbalanced one, and a very toxic one. One thing that I realized about this individual, and one thing that I realized about a lot of relationships, especially given this cross-gender relationship, is boundaries are essential. Because there was no boundaries, he was always willing to test his limits to see how far he could go. So for example, we had this gathering at one of my friend's house, and she's more of the beta female. She's really submissive, she's really domestic, but she can also get a little bit crunk too. Now, I'm not saying that alpha women can't, exhibit those traits either, but for the most part, like, just describing her personality, she was just more of a homebody, very religious, very just humble and nice. Like, if you're more of a spiritual person and you believe in like different lifetimes, she had to be one of those people that were like a new spirit to this earth, because her spirit was just so kind and so naive at times and just really sweet. So essentially what I'm saying is, we went to her house and she was cooking a dinner for us, and after we ate, we ended up just talking, listening to music. And of course, after you listen to music and after you talk, somebody's going to want to play games. So we ended up playing Truth or Dare. We were doing Truth or Dare, and of course, cross-gender relationship, ulterior motives, underlying interests. They wanted to see the girls shake some cheeks, spread them open, do splits on the wall, twerk in a handstand. Like, they just wanted everyone to do the most. But the one that wanted to see the most explicit, the most raunchy, the most, X-rated activity or material, I guess you can say, was the beta male with the alpha complex. And one thing I noticed about him was, given my experience with certain alpha males that have approached me, or that have befriended me, or that I've been acquainted with, a lot of things that they're given, they don't got to ask for. So for this beta male, something that I found to be extremely interesting about our interaction is, with women, he had to ask for a lot of things. A lot of things were asked for. Whereas, like, my experience with alpha males, you don't have to ask a woman to twerk for you or to to spread some cheeks for you, to do whatever you want them to do for you. They're just going to do it. And it's something about their energy, it's something about their essence, it's something about their appeal that just creates an environment where they receive more than they ever have to ask, or more than they will ever have to even give. You know what I mean? But they still give too. But that's another conversation. I'm trying to stay on track. But essentially, he was just asking the most outrageous things. And it got to a point where he essentially wanted my friend to just basically create a home movie in the living room. Like, he just wanted her to pull a stripper pole out of her anus and start swinging from it. Like, he wanted her to gobble a chair and deep throat it. Like, it was just like crazy stuff. Like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? And it was just like, okay, now we gotta stop the game. Like, now we gotta stop the game because you're going a little bit crazy. Like, you want her to swallow this vase? You want her to deep throat your fist? Like, what do you, sir? He didn't want her to do that, but it was like, that's almost what he was asking her to do. Like, he was like, well, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, something about get on the floor and start humping her or something. I'm like, oh, what? Oh my, what? Like, girl, that was crazy. I'm like, that is why I don't go out now. Like, that was nuts. I'm sorry, y'all. That was a flashback. Like, that was crazy. Like I said, it almost seemed as if he wanted her to pull a stripper pole out of her anus and just start swinging from it. Like, that's what I was waiting on. I was like, you got a stripper pole in the caboose, girl? Because I think he wants you to start swinging from it. Like, Magic City, Magic Living Room. So yeah, the reason why I share this story and this experience was because essentially, given that alpha male complex, although he was a beta male, there was a lot of requests that he would offer out unto us. You know, a lot of things that he would ask of, a lot of things he would ask for, a lot of things that he would want us to do that we did not want to do, that we wouldn't even have asked him for. You know, it's just like this experience where he would always try to initiate something and assert himself to something to the point where it became extremely aggressive. And then when you try to approach him on how aggressive something was or how like crazy it was like a very passive interaction. He would like back down from it, or he wouldn't talk about it again, or he would just do weird stuff. Like, it was just weird. It was just weird. It was just weird. I'm not going to get into it. It was just weird. And I'm not saying all beta males are like this, but I'm just saying that sometimes when you're interacting with a beta male, they can have a Batman and Robin syndrome or complex where they feel as though they're an alpha male. And that can create for toxicity within your dynamic, because it's like you don't really know where you stand. And especially if you don't have boundaries within that relationship, because we did not have boundaries within that relationship as a collective, although some of us had them as individuals, it created for an even more unbalanced interaction between one another. So essentially, I just share that story and I share this experience to just shine light on, like, there are some beta males that can be extremely toxic. There are some beta males that can be just as toxic as alpha males, and it often stems from their Batman and Robin syndrome, complex, conflict, because you're conflicted with whether or not you're truly a beta or alpha. You know, believing. Take away the V, but lying. You know, you be lying to yourself. So, yeah, that was an interesting experience. So, getting away from the past experiences, because there's so many experiences that we've all shared with this individual. I guess, essentially, I'm sharing this because given my different experiences with this one particular alpha male, it really changed my perspective of beta males. It changed my perspective. It truly did. You know, the other two beta males, they kind of play true to the typical stigmas and stereotypes of a beta male, but this one, he caught me off left field because I was not expecting his energy, his attitude, his mannerisms, the complexities of this individual. I was not expecting. But I'm essentially just given his Batman and Robin syndrome, given his bad chick but replaced the C with a B mentality, behavior, mannerism, attitude, pronunciation, all of that. You know, it really created a space of toxicity, and not for the reasons that beta males are typically stigmatized for or as, if that makes any sense. Like, the things that you would expect to be toxic about a beta male was not the same thing I was experiencing with the beta male I knew. You know, it wasn't just not dreaming big enough or just being average. It was having this inflated ego and this false sense of like reality. So essentially, I just shared this to say this beta male was true to many of the stigmas that are associated to a beta male. Yet, given my experiences with this individual, he almost revealed a more hidden truth of a beta male, which is this internal conflicting ideal of oneself, I guess you can say. You know, a lot of times, especially when he would handle women, you would always recognize this like chameleon syndrome, where in order to get what he wanted or in order to get what he needed, especially around women, but you can even relate this to business and friendships, he would change himself and be whom he thought he needed to be or whom he wanted to be in that scenario to get what he wanted and to get what he needed. Whereas if you compare this behavior to an alpha male is always going to be who he is. Of course, there is going to come a bit of adaptability. Maybe if you're going to a business meeting, you're going to dress differently than you are when you're wearing your streetwear, but at the same time, it's still going to be authentic to you. Like, alpha males are just authentic. They're natural. They're going to be who they are to get what they want, to get what they need. Whereas this beta male, he just really like changed. He always is changing. He's always evolving. He's always adapting, but not in the most natural sense, if that makes any sense. Like, he would just have this chameleon syndrome about him. I feel like if you met him personally, you would know what I'm talking about, but just take my word for it and know, like, he just had this ever-changing essence to him, and not in the sense of like normal humanly evolution and change and growth, but more so like, I'm trying to be something that I'm not. It wasn't natural. A lot of my encounters with him were not natural. Like, they were just odd. You know, you could just feel that vibe. I really don't know how to explain it. And I hate to always dilute something to a vibe, but I promise you, like, that vibe will never mislead you. When I first met him, he did this thing where he was trying to like assert himself to me and like shake my hand and try to act like he was trying to get to know me. But it was like, honey, you're playing checkers and I'm playing chess. You know, I'm already one step ahead of you. And at that, you're not really even playing checkers. You're playing Connect Four. Like, I already know what you're trying to do. I already know who you're trying to be. Like, you know, so it was just odd interactions, a chameleon type personality and attitude when it came down to adjusting to new scenarios. Even when adjustment was not necessary, it was interesting. I guess another thing that resonated true to his character, and it's still very true for a lot of beta males, they are seen as followers. But I think the difference within him that also revealed another hidden truth for myself is that you can perpetrate the role of leader. Like, you can have leading positions and still be a follower. Areas where he was a leader at, he was still being a follower and he was still being led, because he really had no control, but he felt like he had control. It was just, I promise you, the dualities of this relationship, of this person, was just so necessary for me to have more of an expanded perspective on beta males. You know, we were a part of this program, and they would designate you leaders, but if you don't understand the infrastructure and you don't understand certain behaviors and certain personality types, you're going to think you're leading something that you're really just following. You know what I mean? So hopefully this wasn't confusing, but essentially I'm just doing this video again just to ask for your experiences with beta males. Have you had experiences with beta males, alpha males, omega males, zeta males, sigma males, but more specifically beta males that kind of differ the expected interactions? Because the interactions that I had with this beta male was just like, whew, like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with you? So yeah, So again, thank you for watching my video. If you want to leave some commentary down below, I would really appreciate it. Overall, I just hope that your commentary is productive, respectable, nobody fighting in the comments or anything, although I highly doubt that. Look, I don't even know. Is anybody going to watch this? Look, is anybody going to watch this?